All right, I'm here with Keeley Kabala, not Keeley Tovala, because Keeley it sounds like some people get that mixed up because the name sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's got the same last few letters, but yes, it was named before I got here. I didn't choose the name of the company, but it's led to confusion and many jokes along the way.
And I imagine one of those jokers is David Raby, the founder and CEO of the company I've spoke with. He's been at the Smart Kitchen Summit, but we're excited to have you come out to Seattle in June to talk about what you guys are doing at Tovala. Tovala is a really interesting company because they are one of the real, I think, success stories in this idea of like bringing new technology into the kitchen. And also you have this interesting pairing with a food delivery service. You guys have really kind of been I think the shining star in that space, combining a food delivery service with the hardware. So talk about a little bit before we jump into like what's going on with Tavalla. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got where you are.
Sure, sure. Yeah, my whole professional career has kind of been in the consumer appliance space. Did my very first internships at Whirlpool and Fellows, making appliances and paper shredders. Went over to Whirlpool full time and had a variety of different interesting and challenging assignments all over the world. I got to live in Europe for a year, in China for a year, launch products in dishwashers, refrigerators. And interestingly enough, David and Brian, the other co-founder of Tovala, asked me to be their first employee in 2015. I didn't understand the concept of Tovala and turned them down. And they asked me again a few months later and again a few months later. And finally, after they launched the Kickstarter and it became a little bit more real, I ended up joining the team as the VP of hardware engineering. And so at that time, they had the Gen 1 oven, which had a lot of pros, but also had a lot of cons. And my job was to work with the team to create what was our second gen oven. And it's kind of the base for the two SKUs that we have right now. So we developed that in 2017, 2018, and it launched November 2018 and kind of has been our bread and butter on the hardware side ever since. And then on the ops side, I joined the food ops team kind of in a support role in early 2019. We were trying to figure out, we had just opened our own food facility on the south side of Chicago. And I kind of came over just a little advisement type role for our COO at the time on cost and quality, and kind of just took over ops along the way. And then, we really started to explode at the back half of 2019. And it's been a wild ride throughout the pandemic and opening food facilities along the way. But yeah, that's been my Tovala journey. Originally came for the hardware side, and now I spend most of my time on the food side. But both teams report up to me.
And you have that engineering mindset, obviously you built products throughout your career. And I would imagine that engineering mindset really helps as you try to optimize the food delivery side and the operation side.
Yeah. I think we have a good team of engineers that bridge both the oven and the food side. I think that's probably one of our competitive advantages compared to just maybe a meal kit company that doesn't have the engineering firepower that we have, whether it's
Yeah.
on the hardware side, the ops engineering side, or the software side. Some of our engineers have developed very sophisticated thermal modeling to make sure our food is safe, and also the packaging is as light as possible for customers, based on zip codes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And getting to work with them has been a good challenge. I think there's, one of our unique advantages is having the control of the food, because we produce the food, ship the food, and then have the kill step and the quality control in actually the customer's house, because we're using our chef curated cook cycles to cook the food. So it's a good engineering systems problem to solve.
The current hardware, which like you said, is the foundation of which you help build. And I think there's a couple of different SKUs there, right? But
Yep.
one of the core ideas that I've always found with Tovala is it has, uh, it has steam, which I think obviously makes the food a lot better in my mind. Steam ovens haven't really become widely deployed in consumer kitchens in the US, but I think it really does make food better. So, talk about the feature set within the oven and why it works so well with the food you guys deliver.
Yeah, we have a 5-in-1 and a 6-in-1. The 5-in-1 has the bake, the broil, the air fry functionality, as well as toast and reheat. And then on our 6-in-1, we've added steam. So steam is just another cooking mode that allows to preserve moisture inside of some of the more delicate food items, to reduce browning for other delicate food items, and actually in many ways can help accelerate the cook because you're getting the cooking from the steam surface and the heat transfer going through the food. So we've gone into air frying. We were kind of, I think, a little late to getting into air frying. We were debating that for a long time on the differences between it and just bake, convection bake. But we launched the air fry model that has the 2 speed fan that gets really great performance. And then, our 6-in-1 has the steam functionality, does really great on some of the bread items. Quesadillas, it comes out really great. The salmon turns out perfect when it's with steam and then hit with the broil at the end. I think the true advantage is the multi-step cooking where you're able to change modes and temperatures. And that's what most of our, Tovala cycles do, whether it's the scan to cook groceries or the Tovala meals, or, some of our customers who are really, enjoy cooking at home, they create sophisticated cycles on their own. Some people just like to hit bake 400, 15 minutes all the time. Others get a little bit more creative. They, have a ramp up with an air fry to get the high velocity airflow in the oven, hit it with bake, and then the broil at the end to get caramelization or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think our true advantage is the multi-step cooking.
And that pairing of your food or even CPGs with the scan to cook with the ability to switch to different modes makes it fairly unique. I mean, I think most people, like you said, just they'll buy something at Costco, put it in the microwave or put it in their air fryer and hit go. But you have all these 5 to 6 different elements that you can combine. So each food has its own essentially recipe around the cook. So apply a certain amount of heat. You're going to finish with this, add some steam, and that's optimized for each food that you deliver to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also from a food safety standpoint. So it's a balancing act that our food safety team and our culinary team constantly are trading off on. It's a unique spot for us to have that, one, that additional kill step in the home, but actually quality control is something that we actually have, like how the food turns out when you cook it. We control that in the person's house. Most other meal delivery companies, your end result is determined based on how good of a chef you are. And we extend one layer further where our oven is cooking the cook cycles the way our chefs intend at the test kitchen here at HQ. And they've gone through several rounds of testing, and the important thing is pairing the protein with the side. And so like you can cook chicken a bunch of different ways, but whether it's paired with mashed potatoes or a rice pilaf or green beans, how it gets to that food safe temperature is going to be different. And so our chefs have to balance that out. And so that's why each recipe has a unique cook cycle.
And you do work with stuff that people can buy at the grocery store because you have scan to cook.
Yep.
That to me is really helpful. And I think that would be something that consumers more broadly would like if, hey, I could buy something at the store and my cooking device can be optimized around what the optimal cook mode is for that. Maybe that's a combination of like the food brand working with the appliance maker, but that isn't really available today beyond like what you guys are doing. Is this something you think maybe more widely available in a 10-year time frame? Maybe that's with a Tovala or another appliance where essentially the cook and the different elements of the cook can be applied in a more precise manner based on what consumers are putting into their cooking box?
I think for certain customers, that's definitely the case and definitely a benefit, like not having to check, not having to preheat. I think that's the other thing that's like one of our main advantages is anything we scan to cook in a Tovala, whether it's a Tovala meal or a CPG type item where you scan the UPC, you set it and forget it, you cook it, from ambient. And so like we've calculated the preheat and how the oven warms up into the cook cycle. And so I do think that's another thing. It brings the convenient factor. If you had to always preheat your oven, then remember to come back, 10 minutes later, put it in. It's just one more step that I don't think, customers need or want to do. It's really a non-value step to them. So we try to eliminate those. And then like, not every item is going to work. Not every oven item is ovenable. It can't be cooked with the heaters. Some companies have very delicate packaging and we don't want them to melt. So like, that's why we don't pick everything that can be, from CPG or from the frozen aisle. But there's a lot. There's over 1,000 items at this point in our database, and continue to add to them based on customers' demand. There's definitely times of days where this functionality is used quite often, and certain items, whether it's snacks or breakfast, are very prevalent use cases for these.
Looking forward, I imagine you think a bit about what the Tovala cooking side could look like in in a long-term time horizon. Do you guys think you'll continue to evolve the cooking appliance? Maybe in 10 years will there be more automation or different modes of heating, or do you think it's kind of consumers just want a basic kind of what you have today and just a little bit of change over time?
I think, the biggest thing for us right now is, for the history of our company, we've always been D2C. And so people are coming to us more with a food need first. And very recently we started in retail. We're in Costco now with our oven. And so I think we're getting feedback from our customers on different things they want. So I think it's like based on where the starting point of the customer comes in, they're going to want different functionalities, different capabilities, similar to when we went from the Gen 1 to the Gen 2 oven. The Gen 1 oven didn't have a bake button on the front of it. We thought everyone wanted this super smart appliance, only app usage.
Right.
And we very quickly got feedback that we needed to make some tweaks. And so we brought the functionality still in the app, but also to the front of the oven. The Gen 1 had a larger footprint. We needed to change the footprint size. The kitchen counters are so valuable in everyone's home. We needed to make sure we were optimizing every square inch. And so going into retail now, we're getting feedback. We're very early into it. Only been a few months with Costco, but we're seeing that there's different functionalities, different features, different use cases. And so I think there will definitely be some tweaks in the hardware and the overall experience in general.
That Costco relationship is really interesting to me because when I think of Costco, they obviously sell appliances, but I go there mainly for food. And I usually get the same things. You guys combine the oven with the kind of the consumable. Once people buy the oven through a Costco, can they then pick up the Tovala food at Costco, or will it only be delivered to you guys?
So right now we haven't started any food in retail. That's on our roadmap of things to consider. Right now we have dozens of Kirkland products that can scan it to cook right from the beginning. So people many times are leaving the store with scannable items that have cook cycles already programmed in for their oven to use. But right now we only sell ovens at Costco. But I think once again, this is an advantage we have is we have the opportunity to go into the other side of the store and start getting some of our products there for quicker trials for customers who aren't familiar yet as much with Tovala as a food product and only are learning about it first time more on the appliance side.
And that's interesting that you guys have worked with Costco. So some of the food items available at Costco, you can scan to cook.
Yep.
So they're probably excited about that.
Yeah, they're super excited about that. Not only are they, getting to move our ovens through their store, but it'll help them move some of their other products as well. And it just kind of brings some from newness and kind of a tech advantage that Costco didn't have previously on the food side.
What are you most excited about when you think about the consumer kitchen 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road? What excites you about that space?
I think in general, a way to reduce waste. So whether it's, personalization and understanding what people want to eat so they make sure they don't buy or order the wrong stuff that ends up being wasted, or better understanding of inventory management. But I think in general, like both food and energy waste are still major opportunities in the kitchen space. And so whether it's how people get their food, how much food they get, when they get their food, what food they get, I think are all still major opportunities across our business and other businesses. And then, I have a large oven in my home. I worked for a company that made very nice large ovens. I only use that large oven now on Thanksgiving. There's a lot less energy usage by having the right appliance for the right job. And I think for what I need normally, Tovala answers that. I think there's a lot of other really smart, compact kitchen appliances. And so I think adoption is I think been interesting to see, not just us, but other companies as well, gain adoption. the one thing I'm always shocked by is how willing people are to try new things in the kitchen and are willing to take on early stage innovation, because they are really trying to optimize, the food that they eat, their time, and their space in their kitchen. And so, that's why companies like us and many others have existed and continue to get a chance to iterate. If we're willing to listen to our customers, they'll give you chances to iterate. If you don't listen, you might not be around forever. But it's been great to see just how vocal people are too. They really care, so they don't hold back on their feedback.
Right.
We just got to make sure we keep listening.
Great closing words. Keeley Kabala with Tovala, thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Yeah, have a great day.
Hey, Stacey Pacheco, welcome.